Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi Yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Dear friends, salam and adab. It is my privilege to be talking to you on this important occasion. Indian Muslims' contribution in India's different phases of freedom movement was huge. They played larger than life role and gave great sacrifices for the cause. From last Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar to Nawabs, princes, landlords of all sizes, ulema, and the common people, they all stood for the cause, took on huge challenges, and sacrificed almost everything for it. Thousands of ulema were slaughtered in the wake of 1857 uprising. Entire Delhi was emptied of Muslims, and they were not allowed to return back to their homes and reclaim their properties that they had built after a lifetime of hard work and struggle. Be it 1857 mutiny or the later freedom movements, Muslims have played leading role in all such efforts. British officials and historians have accused Muslims for the 1857 mutiny. To be true, both British historians and the officials have named Muslims as the most important rebels and termed the mutiny as a sinister plot by Muslim ulama to reclaim their lost powerhouse in the country. In many places, Muslim ulama and Sufis gave the call for jihad long before the actual outbreak of Badr in 1857. Ahmadullah Shah was preaching jihad in Agra long before supporters broke open the Faizabad prison. Similar was the case of Maulvi Liaquat Ali, who took control of Allahabad during 1857 and was proclaimed the governor of Allahabad by none other than the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. Maulvi Abdullah Shah and Maulvi Liaquat Ali were not the only ulama who played prominent role during the 1857 mutiny. Maulvi Sarfraz Ali is one leader whose role has remained shrouded in mystery. It is said that Maulvi Sarfraz Ali was a spiritual mentor of Bakht Khan, who rose to become the commander-in-chief of the armies fighting the British army in Delhi and its surrounding places. Sarfraz Ali has been called the Imam of Mujahideen or leader of the rebels by many people. He was a known face in Delhi and enjoyed trust by the Mughal court. It is said that he was persuaded Bakht Khan to march to Delhi and take on the British armies engaged in fighting against the ragtag mutineers in Delhi. After coming to the capital, it was Bakht Khan who brought some iota of discipline in the ranks of the rebel armies and made them fighting fit. Not just Muslim ulama and Sufis, Muslim Nawabs, landlords of all sizes, common Muslims too fought valiantly and gave all sorts of sacrifices. Nawab Tafazul Hussain Khan of Farrukhabad had to pay a very heavy price for his full support to mutineers. His estate was seized and he was sent off to Hijaz, where he died in absolute penury. Nawab Abdul Rahman Khan, Nawab of Chhajjar, was sentenced to death and executed by hanging at the Delhi Kotwali on December 23, 1857. His estate was also seized. Nawab Fazil Ahmad Khan, the Nawab and Jagirdar of Ambapani near Bhopal, was one of the leading leaders of the freedom movement during 1857 mutiny. When the rebel forces were defeated, the Nawab was captured along with 18 of his close associates and was executed by hanging over the gate of Rahatgarh Fort. His estate was seized. Nawab Ahmad Ali Khan, the Nawab of Farrukhnagar too, had to pay a heavy price for his support to the revolutionaries during 1857 mutiny. He was arrested and charged with rebellion and treason against the British. He was sentenced to death and executed in November 1857. Muslims' preeminent role in 1857 mutiny may be the reason that the British government singled the community out for the worst sort of revenge. Thousands and thousands of ulama were hanged to death. Many others, when the British hangmen got tired, were simply taken to a secluded place and shot dead from point blank range. Others, like Muhammad Baqir, were tied to cannon and blasted into small pieces. When the British forces reoccupied the city in 1857, they were given completely free hand in killing Muslims and pillaging their properties. If that was not enough, military ordered that the residents of the city were to be immediately evacuated. Their houses and businesses were to be impounded. This must have been the worst scenario where people of Delhi were forced to leave the town that was so painstakingly built by their forefathers and forefathers over a period of centuries and where they had lived all their lives. It is said that out of hundreds of thousands of Muslims living in Delhi, only Mirza Asadullah Khan Ghalib, the renowned Urdu and Persian poet, was allowed to live. And it was thanks to the generosity of Maharaja of Patiala, a supporter of the British colonial rulers who had sent forces to support them, that he survived the looting, pillaging, and killing of Muslims. While the entire town was emptied of the residents, both Hindus and Muslims, the Hindu residents of the city were allowed to return in 1858, while Muslims were kept out for another 2 years. Muslims' houses and businesses were seized by the army as confiscated property. There is no denying that Muslims were presumed to be the real conspirators behind the 1857 mutiny, and subsequently they faced the full wrath of the colonial government by virtue of having their places of worship and other symbols of power seized and occupied as barracks by British troops. Jama Masjid of Delhi, the huge mosque where we enjoy praying so much, was turned into army barrack where Sikhs sepoys were kept for several years before it was handed back to the Muslim following a long negotiation process initiated by Mufti Sadruddin Azurda. Masjid Fatehpuri was sold off to a Hindu businessman, and it took years before it was released after paying huge sum for it. In Kucha Cheran, a Delhi mohalla that was the center of art and academia at the time, the slaughter was complete. 1,400 people, including renowned scholar Imam Baksh Sahbai and his sons, who were equally very well-known scholars, they were slaughtered. Edward Vibert, a young British officer, says the forces were ordered to kill everyone. Quote, I was literally murdered. It was literally murder. I have seen many bloody and awful sights lately, but such as one as I witnessed yesterday, I pray I never see again. The women were all spared, but their screams on seeing their husbands and sons butchered were most painful. Heaven knows I feel no pity, but when some old grey-bearded man is brought and shot before your very eyes, hard must be the man's heart, I think, who can look on with indifference. Unquote. What happened in Delhi was repeated in almost all the strongholds of the rebels. All rebel strongholds, including centers of the town, were flattened, people massacred, and their homes and properties confiscated. Muslims not just took the lead in 1857 mutiny, they remained in the forefront in all of their efforts to topple the British colonial regime in the country as well. Reshmi Rumal Tehreek of Maulana Mahmud Hassan and Maulana Ubaidullah Sindhi was a complete Muslim effort to topple the colonial rule. When the British intelligence finally got rid of it, hundreds of sympathizers of Reshmi Rumal Tehreek were arrested and thrown in prison for years without any trial. The entire top leadership, including Maulana Mahmud Hassan and half a dozen of his disciples, were bundled off to Malta after a sham trial where they endured the worst hardship under very tough circumstances. Muslims were in the colonial struggle too, from Justice Tayyib Ji to Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. There were as many as 9 Muslim leaders who became the president of the Indian National Congress. Not just Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru and Patel led the freedom movement. Muhammad Ali Jawhar, Shaukat Ali, Maulana Azad, Dr. Mukhtar Ansari, Hakim Ajmal Khan, Maulana Mahmud Hassan, and many top-of-the-line Muslim leaders were equally respected and hugely popular, who gave every possible sacrifice for the cause of freedom movement. Without them and their sacrifices, it is completely unthinkable that the nation would have won freedom. Thank you. As I conclude, I would like to add here that if you want to support our cause and what we are doing, you can contact us on our mobile number 9818-327757 or email us at sayyidurrahman@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.